Wednesday, August 16th, 2023, morning session of the Portland City Council. Christina, please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Maps.
Here.
Rubio.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Wheeler.
Here. Now we'll hear from legal counsel on the rules of order and decorum. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the Portland City Council. To testify before council in person or virtually, you must sign up in advance on the council agenda at www.portland.gov/council/agenda. Information on engaging with City Council can be found on the council clerk's webpage. The presiding officer preserves order and decorum during city council meetings. The presiding officer determines the length of testimony. Individuals generally have 3 minutes to testify unless otherwise stated. A timer will indicate when your time is done. Disruptive conduct, such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting other testimony or council deliberations will not be allowed. If you cause a disruption, a warning will be given. Further disruption will result in ejection from the meeting. Anyone who fails to leave once ejected is subject to arrest for trespass. Additionally, council may take a short recess and reconvene virtually. Your testimony today should address the matter being considered. When testifying, state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. Disclose if you are a lobbyist. If you are representing an organization, please identify it. For testifiers joining virtually, please unmute yourself once the council clerk calls your name. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. First up is communications. First individual, 659, please.
Request of Aubrey Russell to address council regarding statues in South Park blocks, and they let us know they're canceling their request.
Very good. Next individual, please, 660.
Request of Darla Sturdy to address council regarding emergency response solutions, and they also canceled their request.
Next individual, please, item 661.
Request of Craig Kuhn to address council regarding Bureau of Transportation pedestrian issues.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Greetings, my name is Craig Kuhn, K-O-O-N, and I am the Transportation Chair of the Southwest Hills Residential League. I'm here today to speak about PBOT policies and practices which deliberately place pedestrians in Southwest at risk of injury and death. The first week of March, we delivered a list of 10 questions to Commissioner Maps in his office, asking how and by whom decisions affecting pedestrian safety were made at PBOT. We had a follow-up meeting with staff members a week later. We've heard nothing since. In fact, we no longer receive replies to emails simply asking for updates. I have since found I am not alone in this. This is unacceptable from any city office. In Southwest, we have the least transit, sidewalks, and crosswalks of any area of the city. We do understand the challenges and are not demanding universal sidewalks, but demand PBOT do its job and protect pedestrians. PBOT's development review and its non-public alternative review processes have quietly adopted a walkway standard of an unprotected 6-foot wide paved shoulder at best. This forces pedestrians to walk in the road separated from cars solely by a white stripe of paint. We reject this solution. These reviews are opaque internal processes with no public input, little oversight, and no appeals for the intended users of the facilities. In Southwest, this routinely results in projects approved with little or no pedestrian protection. PBOT has even denied a sidewalk a developer volunteered to build in favor of the unprotected paved shoulder. We asked the guardrail at least be moved between the road and the pedestrians, and we were told federal regulations forbid it. We asked for the number and text of this regulation. None was ever provided. Our conclusion can only be that there isn't one, and I have read many of the rules, and I can't find it either. Another reason given was that a car might strike such a guardrail. We felt this rather missed the point of having the guardrail between the pedestrian and the car. PBOT also claimed walking in the road was safer than possibly falling down a small slope. As a pedestrian in Southwest, I can tell you that there are thousands of shoulders PBOT is telling me to use with steeper grades and no guardrails at all. Frankly, I'll take my chances when falling down over being killed by a distracted motorist. And why are these my choices at all? This isn't about being able to walk the dog. There are projects in process or built now, many targeting low or middle income families from which residents will not be able to safely access transit. Often least able to afford a car, these residents will be forced to drive. More cars on the road endanger these pedestrians walking in them. This also kills your Vision Zero and climate goals. In short, if PBOT no longer will, quote, plan, build, manage, and maintain an effective and safe transportation system in Southwest, endangered pedestrians for decades to come, that should be a publicly debated policy decision, not the responsibility of middle managers with a documented history of poor decision-making. We request that PBOT honor its stated mission of making Portland Street safe for everyone by reversing these anti-pedestrian policies, as well as opening development and alternative reviews to public comment and appeal. We will not accept a policy of go play in the road. Thank you. And in case the questions didn't get to the Commissioner's desk, I have copies.
Thank you, Commissioner
Can you give
Maps.
them if you give the questions to the clerk, I'll pick them up. But before, Mr. Kuhn, if you could just pause for a moment, I do want to respond to at least a part of your testimony today. Number one, thank you for testifying, and thank you for your advocacy and expertise in the land use planning space and transportation. I'm a little bit aware of your work and respect your perspectives and whatnot. I'm glad I'm trying to figure out. So you've had an initial meeting around these issues, and then you said communications broke down. I'm trying to figure out where the breakdown is. Is it my office? Were you meeting with my office, or were you meeting with PBOT?
I was meeting with your office.
Okay.
Your appointed spokesperson had a follow-up in-person meeting with me, a couple email exchanges. The last we heard, they simply said, it's out of my hands, and then it's disappeared. And I've talked to several other activists who say that being ghosted by the office is not an uncommon occurrence.
Well, that is very much inconsistent with my goals. We have some transition going on in the office now, but one of the things I pledge to do is to make sure that my office follows up on you, and we can continue these conversations.
We'd appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Next individual, please. Item 662.
Request of Wayne Wignes to address council regarding city strategies on houselessness. They were planning to join in person, and it doesn't look like, oh, actually, they're in Zoom.
Oh, you see him on the Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wayne, are you
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear. Good morning.
Thank you. My name is Wayne Wignes. Obviously I couldn't make it today. Got called into work, and I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to do this, so I didn't really prepare a formal speech. However, I got some points to make that I think are important, so I'm going to go for it. First off, I'd like to go back to Commissioner Gonzalez. Back in November, you posted a map of homeless people and correlated that with crime. Now, feel free to look me up online. You can find my GitHub repository. I'm pretty savvy with data analysis and computers. I tried accessing this data on the city website, and what I found is I ran into just general statistics by county, geography. So we were basing a public conversation on data that is not readily accessible to the public, and I think that sets a bad, unethical precedent. Secondly, what you need if you're going to correlate one thing to another, crime to homelessness, is something called a co-integration analysis that correlates these things over time. And so the analysis was flawed. And lastly, I ask you consider what precedent are you setting? I mean, now when I want to correlate crime to Black people, do I map out Black people and do that? It's unethical. It's proof that our code of ethics is grossly outdated on data use. And since then, we watched, I would say this is in the past, but since then, we've watched you warp and twist fire code policy to serve some ulterior agenda. Secondly, Ted Wheeler, a few months ago, you used the fact that we live in a democracy to justify doing a 180 on your camping policy. FYI, Ted, we do not live in a democracy. We live in a democratic republic, and with good reason. Anybody who studies democracies know that they can quickly devolve to the worst forms of tyranny. People, when left to their own devices, are capable of some of the worst atrocities. Case in point, it's commonly referred to as tyranny of the masses. A case in point is I was recently reading a book it was called Demonic Males, The History of Violence in Apes and Humans. And in it, the author used the case example of how democratic elections in Burundi helped catalyze the genocide in Rwanda. One day, the prime minister came out, called over radio Rwanda and said, "Rise up and defend your democratic institutions." Within a few days, him and some other leader was cut into 3 pieces and used as a roadblock. And then the killing started after that. So with good reason, the only process in our government that is democratic is voting. But tell me, Ted, who got to vote for camping to be outlawed? Nobody. There was nothing democratic about it. I know how these meetings go. In the best case, you had 100 people, but even if you had 500, that's not a democratic sample. 500 people do not speak to 500,000. I got more to say, but I think I'll cut it there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And next individual, please, 663.
Request of John Carter to address council regarding golf course land use.
Welcome, John. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, everybody. My name is John Carter. I'm on the board of the Overlook Neighborhood Association. And so, today it's going to reach 105 degrees. The concrete and the asphalt is baking. And the urban heat island effect is in full force. And I think something that I feel like as Portland is kind of managing and mitigating its varying crises is that we're forgetting that at some point in the not too distant past, we used to be trailblazers of new ideas. And I think that there's an opportunity to do that again, where for housing, we can create alternatives that the state, nation, and world can see. And I think that it's hard to organize private land interests together, but the city has ample opportunity with public lands that it owns with the golf courses. My question is, how many golf courses do we actually need? And are there ways that we can use that land for other things? So I think that what I'm kind of envisioning is the idea of taking one of the golf courses and subdividing the land into small parcels that the public can buy, and that it would create an incrementally designed neighborhood where that it's built from the bottoms up, but that from the top down, the city government is providing infrastructure resources so that people can build this place. One that integrates small scale but dense housing one that integrates urban farming, urban canopy, food forests. I think that while it's great to see all the new development that's coming up in the city, because we do desperately need housing, a lot of this is not necessarily fit for our climate, and that the solution to these heat waves that we're experiencing as well, more air conditioning. But if you look at the temperature of the ground when you're under concrete, it's about 40 degrees hotter than if you have tall grass. And so the more that we exist in such a beautiful part of the world, and one that can be so resilient to climate change if we just, try to adapt to these things. So I think there's ample opportunity. I know that it's the temptation of the government to probably want to do everything itself, but that letting go of some of that and letting things develop from the bottoms up might be good. Also wanted to say that if I have a second, that I would come here often a couple of years ago. I got overburdened with things, and I dropped the ball on that. I remember me and you, Ted, had a phone call, and I really appreciated that. The ball was in my court, and I just got caught up in other things, so wanted to apologize for that.
I can relate.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. That concludes public testimony. Is that correct, Christina? We'll move to the consent agenda. Have any items been pulled off the consent agenda?
We received no requests.
Please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Bapps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The consent agenda is adopted, and we will wait 1 minute and move into the first time certain. All right, it is now 9:45. We can call the first time certain item number 664, please.
Accept the Police Accountability Commission quarterly report for April to June 2023.
Colleagues, today we have with us Samir Kanal from the Community Safety Division to introduce this quarterly report of the Police Accountability Commission. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, members of council. This is the Police Accountability Commission's quarterly report for April to June 2023. I will pass it over to co-chair Tim Pitts to begin the presentation.
Yes, thank you to the City Council for allowing us this opportunity to present the quarterly report of the Police Accountability Commission covering April through June of 2023. My name is Tim Pitts, and I was a co-chair of the PAC during the transition plan and broader system phase of work, which began in May and extended past the end of this quarterly period. I'm joined by Charlie Michelle Wesley, Casey Lewis, Christian Oriana Bauer, Catherine McDowell, and Debbie Iona, some of them online, who were all co-chairs during the portions of the quarter that this report is on. This quarterly report has 3 sections. The first is the largest part, which covers the end of the structure and details phase of the Commission's work, which was through early May. The second covers the portion of the next phase, transition plan and broader system, which occurred during this quarter. The third section addresses next steps. We'll be reporting solely on April through June, so there are things that happened from July 1st until now that are not covered in the report because they occurred in the following quarter. While we will be talking in general terms about what some of the documents include, we won't get very specific today due to time, but if you have questions, we're happy to answer them, and we welcome any feedback going forward. The PAC will be wrapping up its work on August 31st, and then we'll be presenting to City Council in September, and we'll have a lot more detail at that point as well.
I'm Debbie Iona. I was one of the other co-chairs for the broader system and transition plan phase. In November 2020, Portland voters approved a ballot measure that authorized a new community police oversight board to both replace the current system of administrative investigations, discipline, and accountability, and allow for greater community voice in the policies and directives of Portland Police. The Police Accountability Commission was created by the City Council to develop the parameters and details of the Community Police Oversight Board, which would implement this new section of the city charter. Council tasked the PAC with working within the charter framework and ensuring it is reflected in city code. So we'll be noting a few things later on where the recommendations of the PAC were set not by the PAC, but by the voters in the charter. Prior to this quarter, the PAC self-organized, researched and heard from experts and affected parties, identified barriers and best practices to police accountability, as well as ideas from subject matter experts and other jurisdictions to consider implementing in the new system in Portland, and worked on the functions of the new system, what it will do. This quarter included the end of the structure and details phase of work, which focused on the form the new system will take, how it is set up to do what it needs to do. After that, the PAC started the transition plan and broader system phase, focused on how the city initially sets up the board and how the new system relates to other parts of government. That started, but didn't finish during this quarter. During this quarter, the PAC did have one briefing with City Commissioner Renee Gonzalez on April 13th. Thank you once again to Commissioner Gonzalez for coming and briefing the PAC. Including the full PAC meetings, subcommittee meetings, and community engagement events, the commission held 36 events in this 3-month period, which means the PAC remained one of the most active parts of city government. In fact, at the end of this quarter, the PAC had held over 130 total events.
City Council, Ted, Charlie Wesley, co-chair, Phase 4 and Phase 6, and Commissioner. The structure and details phase ended in May, and Catherine, Casey, and I were co-chairs of that phase. Our documents of our structure and details phase are not final code recommendations, but they are the beginnings of those recommendations. They are a draft for revision based on discussion on other issue areas, community and council feedback, and legal advice. That will be converted into a code recommendation in the last few months of the Police Accountability Commission's work. That's a process going on right now.
There were 3 outcome documents for this phase, which collectively were the structures of the new system. The first was about how board membership will work. The second was about how the oversight staff, which will report to the board, will be set up. And the third was about reporting and transparency for the public and city council.
Good morning. My name is Catherine McDowell. I was one of the co-chairs for Phase 4. And before getting into what the PAC decided upon in Phase 4, we wanted to start by saying what the parameters were that we worked within, what the voters and the city council have tasked us with doing. First, on board membership, the charter says that members of the board are appointed by city council. There is a requirement in the charter that membership, not just the applicant pool or outreach, but those actually seated, include representation from diverse communities, particularly those who have experienced racism and those who have experienced mental illness, addiction, or alcoholism. The charter says that people currently employed by a law enforcement agency and immediate family members, as well as former law enforcement employees, are not eligible for the board. Second, on the staff side, it creates a director position defined as a bureau director. The professional staff report to the director, which means the director and not the board does the day-to-day management of the staff. The charter says that minimum funding for the board is proportional to 5% of the police bureau's budget. That does not take away any money from the police, but it does say that for every dollar given to the police, an additional 5 cents would go to the oversight board. Finally, on reporting and transparency, our mandate came from City Council, who told us to answer when the reports would come back to Council, how what is in them, how public and reports and meetings will work, as well as what information the public can get on investigations. These were some of the parameters we worked within. Now we'll talk about what the PAC decided during this quarter.
The structure of the PAC agreed to for the oversight board includes 33 members of the board, plus at least 5 alternates. This is a large board designed to represent the diversity of the city, avoid burnout and turnover among volunteers, and allow for more community outreach and representation. It also allows for a large pool from which smaller groups can work on individual cases. The whole board won't be hearing each individual case. The selection criteria follows the charter and includes diversity and members with lived experience. The PAC also added in subject matter expertise that might be used by council in determining who to appoint, including experience in investigations, civil rights work, public defense, and other types of experience that might help the board member succeed in their role. Other selection criteria include the standard city rules on needing to live, work, play, worship, or go to school in Portland. The requirement in the charter to have a diverse board also means providing a small member support package, not big enough to make someone an employee or be their main source of income, but enough to help ensure volunteers are able to continue serving without incurring a financial penalty for volunteering.
There will be training for members to ensure they're ready to do the work of oversight fairly and impartially. This includes training for each new group of members by their peers who've already been serving on the board, as well as training from staff and experts, including law enforcement experts. Training will be on oversight procedures so members know what they'll need to do, and on PPB policies and directives so they know what officers are trained and expected to do. The PAC proposed 3-year terms with 1/3 of members up for reappointment each year and members able to be reappointed at City Council's discretion. The PAC also was required to come up with what is a good reason to remove members from council, and breaching confidentiality, conflicts of interest, and misconduct were among the reasons included.
The staff structure envisioned in the charter was also something that the PAC was tasked with building out. First, the PAC made recommendations on the director, including qualifications and on the hiring process. This is one of the things that the PAC identified last year as being a strong part of the current system, and the PAC proposed keeping a lot of this the same. Qualifications were modeled off of the IPR director position and the public process that aligns with HR rules and includes community input in the hiring. The director would also manage the other staff positions in the Bureau.
The other staff positions would include investigators and administrative staff, also policy and community engagement staff. Finally, it includes intake staff and complaint navigators to provide information to community members going through the process of filing a complaint. Like the board members, staff would also need to be trained in both oversight procedures and PPB procedures. The PAC wants to make sure that the board knows what police have been trained to do and what they're expected to do so that they can fairly assess if police actions were in policy. Another similarity to the current system is that, like IPR, this would be an independent bureau. The PAC also wants to make sure the office is open and accessible to community members, including access to transit and hours outside of 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
PAC approached reporting and transparency by trying to make things as open and as accessible to the public as the law allows. Some things, the names of people involved in a case that's still being considered, for example, would need to be redacted because federal law requires that. This includes recommending public meetings whenever possible, knowing that hearings on many cases will need to be closed because of state and federal law. The PAC is proposing that decisions are made in public and the public can comment to the extent the law allows. Also, the new system would host the chief of police, the mayor, and other public safety officials to ensure fairness and educate both board members and the public on PPB policies, directives, and structures. The director of the new bureau would also give public updates.
Charlene, Catherine, Tim, I just want to let you know I have to exit for 20 minutes. I didn't want you to think you did anything wrong.
Okay,
And
thank
I
you for
wanna
letting
thank
us
you
know.
for your work if I'm not back in time.
Thank you for your time.
Uh-huh.
The PAC also is proposing a detailed annual report to be published and presented to City Council. This would include a lot of aggregated data. The agreements also include that there'd be accessible data dashboards and raw data so that there could be media or academic study and analysis. Again, this wouldn't have individual names, but it would include things like of the total number of complaints, this percentage were investigated within 90 days, this percentage within 180 days, and this many went to mediation instead of investigation. Throughout this process, the PAC ensured that the system it's recommending protects confidentiality as the law requires. Finally, the transparency of the system also includes ensuring information distribution and community engagement so that members of the public know how to get information, file a complaint, and generally understand the oversight system.
So we'll move now into explaining the transition plan and broader system phase for which Debbie, Christian, and Tim were co-chairs.
The commission organized its work into 6 phases, and this was our 5th phase, and it started in May and continued after the end of the quarter that this report is about. So we're going to focus on the first half only, and the rest will be in the next quarter.
During this phase of work, the commission worked on 3 documents. First was the areas of agreement on the broader system, which focused on how the new system will interact with other parts of government. The second was the transition plan, which City Council required the PAC to create and which will explain how the system will be initially implemented. Finally, the City Council asked us to propose a name. So there's a document with the name of the Bureau and of the board. As part of developing these, we took a survey on name options and got a lot of community input.
This final section is on what's coming up. This report covers April through June, and subsequently we finished the transition plan and broader systems phase in early July. We then started the concluding phase, which is our last phase. Thank you to the City Council for your support in getting outside legal counsel, who is helping us convert our agreements into legalese so we can make a recommendation for city code. The PAC will finish that city code recommendation and our final report by August 31st, and then present it to you in September.
After that, the process is defined by the settlement agreement between the city and the federal government. The City Council has 60 days to refer code and settlement agreement amendments text to the US DOJ and to the US court to review. They'll review it and then send it back to the city. Finally, the City Council has 21 days after that to approve the amendments to the settlement agreement and approve the new code. And that will start the setup period for the new board and system.
We also want to talk about community engagement because the PAC is still working and still incorporating community feedback. During the quarter covered by this report, the PAC had 6 community engagement events, including meeting with the Portland Business Alliance and the Pacific Northwest Family Circle, and several open sessions for community to learn more and give their input. On behalf of all the PAC members, thank you to all the community members who gave input to the process thus far. We're also still taking more input and scheduled a lot of other community engagement events because this process was defined by City Council and committed to by the PAC as a community-driven process. As you can see, we've held several other events and still have 4 coming up. We want to encourage anyone who's interested to join the Youth and Families Information Session this Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. or our open community information session next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Both are hybrid events, and we welcome more input. You can get more information at our website, portland.gov/police-accountability under events.
Great, thank you.
If you can't make it to an event or just prefer to give written feedback, that's okay. We'll also take written feedback via web form, or you can leave a voicemail or even send postal mail.
So we are in the home stretch here, and I just want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to brief you on the work of the Police Accountability Commission through the end of June 2023. We remain committed to collaborating with the City Council, recommending texts that would implement the voter approved charter section and build an oversight system for Portland Police that works for all Portlanders. That concludes our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions the City Council may have.
Thank you, great presentation. Commissioner Mapps.
I don't know if we have public testimony.
We probably do, but we'll go ahead and take your questions
Okay.
now and then.
I'm going to ask a question which I don't expect you to have an answer to right now, but maybe this is more of a flag to think about before you wrap up your important work. So there will be staff as part of this commission. Increasingly in spaces like this, we see folks unionize. And I hope that there can be a discussion about how those dynamics work, who kind of negotiates that labor contract. It's, in my experience, that's kind of a complex space, and I think it would be wise of us to be very clear about how it should the folks who do this future work decide to unionize. I think it would be wise of us to be clear up front about how those dynamics go. And if you've already thought about that question, I'd love to hear it. If not, I encourage you to think about it, and we can talk about it the next time we come back.
Thank you for that question. I don't know that we can speak fully to all of it, but I will say that the PAC's areas of agreement on broader system do specifically note that this will be a part of the general city, so the same structures of the negotiation process, which I believe includes labor relations under the Bureau of Human Resources and the city attorney's office, would all apply if that is a conversation. And generally, all of the systems that apply to ensuring procurements above board, to ensuring labor relations, all of that would still apply to this process, is how the PAC developed it.
Cool. I'd love to see that in writing in the final report. We sometimes
Happy
have
to send
questions
that to
about
you.
that when you actually get to contract time. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, very good. Do we have public testimony on this report?
Yes, we have 4 people signed up.
Very good. 3 minutes each. Name for the record, please.
First is Donovan James in Zoom. And it doesn't look like they've joined us yet, so we'll move to Mark Porras.
Morning, can you hear me?
Yes, morning, Mark.
Great, good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Mark Porras. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm with the group Portland Cop Watch. And as you know, Portland Cop Watch member Dan Handelman sits on the Police Accountability Commission, and our group really appreciates the opportunity to testify on this report. I first want to acknowledge the hard work that these volunteer commissioners continue to put in as they wrap up their design of the new police oversight system. You heard Commissioner Iona say that the PAC held 36 meetings and events during the second quarter of 2023, including hosting Commissioner Gonzalez at a full commission meeting in April. When Commissioner Gonzalez appeared before the PAC, he said he could ask the Portland Police Association to relay to the commission any concerns they have about the proposed oversight board structure so that PAC could find solutions. It's just not clear to me if that's happened yet. Each of you has had the opportunity to appear before the commission individually, and I appreciate your participation in the City Council work session with the PAC, which occurred in the second quarter. And I hope that nothing in the PAC's presentation today or the Q2 report comes as a surprise to you. And I'll repeat what I said to Judge Simon on Monday during the U.S. versus City of Portland status conference on the settlement agreement. I have attended several PAC meetings, read the reports, and I took a close look at the proposed city code. I provided feedback to them on a few typos and just minor inconsistencies. However, nothing surprised me in their proposed city code based on the tasks given to the PAC to build out the charter's basic framework. The commission began working on their transition plan during Q2 and finalized it shortly after the reporting period ended. The transition plan calls for council to fund a transition team made up of city staff as well as volunteers from the PAC, the Citizen Review Committee, and the Police Review Board community member pool. it would seem prudent for council to consider the PAC's request for funding included in this report to apply to the transition team, which will help ensure that the new oversight system can be up and running as soon as possible. The city and the community have no control over the US DOJ's review of the PAC's proposal, nor of how long the court will take to schedule a hearing to update the settlement agreement. However, taking the important step of setting up the transition team will ensure that once there is approval from the DOJ and the court, this new board, which voters approved of nearly 3 years ago, can get rolling right away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Next is Brian Tice in person.
Tim, could you, thanks, appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, Samir. Thanks, Charlie. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Brian Tice. My wife and I live in the Hayhurst neighborhood of Portland, Oregon. We've been there for about the last year. Over the last year, we have 32 confirmed trespassers in our backyard. We have a large burn pile that's been contributed to by multiple families. I've been assaulted one time. I've been followed at night. I've been confronted by people on the street. I've had gunshots happen right in front of our driveway, found heroin bindles and drug paraphernalia in our backyard, had people frequently in our backyard to drink in the summer months. Our 84-year-old neighbor had her door kicked in midday, and she walked outside to find two people trying to simultaneously steal her car. I work in California. I tell people all the time I truly love to live in Portland because I drive 8.5 hours to get to my house. That being said, my wife called me the other day on the 11th at 1:30 in the morning and said that there were two people in our backyard. They were less than 15 feet from our home. I felt very helpless. She called 911, and there was a delayed response, no fault of the Portland Police Bureau, just to be clear. When I called BOEC in the morning, they told me that for an area the size of Lake Oswego, there were only 2 police officers on duty. So I guess the point, if I do have one, is that in the midst of a Portland Police Bureau recruitment and retention crisis, and some credible sources stating that there's a 300% increase in crime in Portland currently, we really just need to get back to the fundamentals, right? I mean, just as shelter and food and healthcare are fundamental human rights, safety is a human right here. And I think that it's not too far away to say, as we're looking at police accountability, we need to celebrate our police officers and say, hey, thank you for the good work that you're doing. You're understaffed. You're having a hard time. This is a rough place to work. We appreciate you. You're doing a great job. I'm not angry about the crime that's happening in my home. I think that we need more police officers. I think that accountability is good. And I think the work that this commission is doing is great. But I do think that police-worn body cameras are important. You talk to any cop and they'll say, hey, we want them too. It helps kind of prove our story. And I think that we need more funding for the Police Bureau for training and more officers. And you know, I know that you as the city council are aware that this is the first time in history where the Portland Police Bureau doesn't require a bachelor's degree. I mean, we're moving back in our requirements to hire cops, and they deserve our support. So that being said, just as healthcare is a basic human right, just as housing is a basic human right, safety in our own home is a basic human right. And I don't want to feel helpless again because my wife calls me at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, I called 911. There are people in our backyard. I'm scared. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a comment. First of all, thanks for being here.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. And thanks for your resilience. Nobody should have to put up with what you're putting up with.
I appreciate
at your home or your neighborhood. And I appreciate that you're strong about it, but still it shouldn't be happening. And you shouldn't have to put up with it, and your family shouldn't have to put up with it. You hit on 3 issues that I profoundly agree with you on. First of all, there is some good news. With regard to recruiting, Portland, interestingly, has had a positive experience over the last couple of years in terms of recruiting. We have lots of people who are interested in working for the Portland Police Bureau. We've made some exceptional hires. And while you're right that the standard, the educational standard was lowered, all of the other standards still remain in place. And having gone to all of the recent hiring ceremonies, I can tell you the caliber of the recruits is incredible.
Great.
I mean, it goes all the way up to the PhD level, people with multiple master's degrees, people who speak multiple languages. It's really impressive, the caliber of the candidates that are coming through PPP. So we do not have a recruiting problem at present, and this council has been very supportive of additional dollars to make sure that we keep hiring more officers. You correctly identified training as an issue, and a lot of people miss that part of the equation. There is a required state certification process through the DPSST down in Salem, and historically that has been a bottleneck for us. We have officers who are hired, they meet all the criteria, they're eager to hit the streets, and they're basically waiting to get their state certification. And this council was successful in this last legislative session. It was one of the few, I think, really great wins for this council, was to have additional academies and opportunity slots opened up for training to get through the backlog of officers that have been hired but do not yet have their certification. I think, Mike, we have like 55 people-ish waiting to go through the academy. Is that about right?
I have a few less than that.
Okay, well, that's good news. So we're getting through the gap on that. And then with regard to body-worn cameras, you're going to see them on the streets in the next literally days from now.
Great.
This council has been supportive of that. The funding has been waiting. We've gone through the extensive RFP process and the evaluation of different technologies. We've made our decision, and those cameras will be rolled out forthwith. So you're hitting on all the right points, and I really appreciate your being here today. And I know my colleagues have some comments too. Commissioner Mapps,
Thank you.
You first, then Commissioner Gonzalez.
Absolutely. Mr. Mayor, you covered a lot of the territory that I wanted to get to. I want to thank you for showing up to testify today, especially in person. I also want to express my empathy and regret for the public safety challenges that you are encountering. And I know you're not alone. Everyone on this council hears from Portlanders from every corner of the city every day with stories a lot like yours. I think the only thing that I would add to the comments that the mayor made is that if things go how I expect them to go before we are done with our work in council today, this council will increase the amount of dollars available for police overtime. That'll be available right away, which I believe will help improve police response and police staffing levels right away, especially as we're in this very difficult summer session. Even with that, according to my calculations, we are not going to be able to adequately staff all of our precincts at the level that we should. However, I really want to express my appreciation to my colleagues on council and to the people of Portland who have really been partners, including the PAC, for their efforts to help build a more robust and more just public safety system. Thank you.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
I just want to thank you for your testimony. We often get a disproportionate representation of certain segments of the community who chooses to testify, particularly on police matters. And it's essential that ordinary Portlanders trying to raise a family here and that are concerned about spouses and other loved ones have their voice heard. So just want to say thank you for your testimony. And collectively, we're going to have to work hard to reestablish public safety in the city. There are tremendous efforts going on right now. It's not enough, but keep doubling down. So again, thank you for your testimony today.
Thank you.
Thanks. Was there one more individual?
Yeah, our last testifier is Meg Robinson in Zoom.
Hi, Meg.
Hi. Good morning, Mayor and City Council members. I am here to testify in strong support of police accountability. I share the values and goals of the Police Accountability Commission, which it identified during its first phase of work and also published in its first ever quarterly report. Those are equity and inclusion, anti-racism, harm reduction, transparency and trustworthiness, community-centered work, and general efficacy. As servants to the public, funded by our limited resources, and sworn to protect public safety, PPP officers have a duty to behave ethically and to uphold the Constitution in all of their work. Unfortunately, because I feel morally obligated to uphold the values we share, I also have to testify in strong opposition to the Portland Police Accountability Commission itself and the report it has submitted. I genuinely admire the members of PAC and the time and passion they have dedicated to this work. My respect for them is not diminished by the fact that I don't believe the system they have developed is reasonable, and I don't believe it could successfully achieve the will of the voters. I am here as a concerned citizen, a community member, and most importantly, someone who has seen this movie before. Despite the common perception, none of the individual components of Measure 26-217 is entirely new. Each provision has already been tested in some form at some time by some other city, even in Portland itself at other moments in history. It is critical that City Council members look into the outcomes of those attempts before voting on PAC's proposal. In May of 2000, when I was 6 years old and didn't live here, Mayor Katz commissioned a work group to study the Police Internal Investigations Auditing Committee, or PIIAC. PIIAC was the police oversight body that preceded IPR and CRC, which are the police oversight bodies that would be replaced by PAC's proposal. I strongly encourage council members to review that work group's findings, as they are essentially exactly the same as the findings PAC reported in its second phase of work over 20 years later. The barriers to success discussed by both groups are valid, but none of them would be solved by the system this commission has drafted, and some will be made worse. No matter how idealistic Portland voters are, it is unavoidable that this measure has real-world consequences, and that moving forward without practical implications in mind will cause real-world suffering. It is notable that at the time the PIIAC was replaced by IPR, the city of Portland had a population of around 480,000, employed over 1,000 officers, and funded civilian police oversight with a budget of $43,000. Portland's current population is around 640,000 people who are served by 803 sworn officers. By arbitrarily funding the new oversight system with over $12 million without any effective budget accountability mechanism, the city will be actively investing in its own decline. The threat of an adversarial, ideologically driven oversight board will convince quality officers to leave and quality recruits to stay away. Lack of trust will also deprive the Bureau of an effective external body for good officers to submit whistleblowing complaints to. Lastly, contrary to popular belief, the most common citizen police complaint is about the capacity of PPB to respond to calls for help at all. By reducing the capacity of the police bureau, the new oversight body will be guaranteeing its own supply of complaints to investigate for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That completes testimony.
All right, very good. Thank you, everyone who testified. That was great testimony. Colleagues, unless there are any other questions, I'll entertain a motion to accept the report.
So moved.
Commissioner Mapps moves. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Gonzalez seconds. Any further discussion on the report? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
I'm going to vote to approve the report. I think the ongoing discussion about some of the more significant implications of PAC is justified by this council, but I appreciate the good work of PAC and appreciate the testimony today. I vote aye.
Mapps.
I want to thank staff and our panel today for their work and their presentation. I also appreciated the public testimony that we heard today. I vote aye.
Rubio.
I want to thank Samir and each of the presenters who shared this report today. And I especially want to lift up all the great work that you've been doing in community engagement, which I know has been mentioned, but it's worth to point out. You've had so many meetings, and in addition to your commission meetings and many engagement events. And to me, that demonstrates a lot of dedication and commitment to your charge. So thanks so much for this. And I look forward to the discussion on the final report. I vote aye.
Wheeler.
I want to thank everybody for their hard work. It was a great discussion. Thank you for the testimony. I vote aye. And the report is accepted, and I look forward to seeing the final report later this month.
Thank you.
Next item, we'll move to the regular agenda, item number 681, please.
Pay settlement of Jordan Ward and Caitlin Hemphill property damage lawsuit for $60,000 involving the Bureau of Environmental Services and the Bureau of Transportation.
Colleagues, this is an emergency ordinance. It resolves a lawsuit brought against the city back in January. Deputy City Attorney Naomi Sheffield and Senior Claims Analyst Karen Bond are here to walk us through the ordinance.
And I'm actually going to defer, this is Deputy City Attorney Naomi Chevy. I'm going to defer to Assistant Deputy City Attorney Elsa Hack.
Oh, great. Hi, Elsa.
Morning, Elsa Haig. Chad B. Ward Real Estate filed a complaint against the city alleging that the city's repair of a private sewer lateral in June of 2021 caused a sewer backup that resulted in damage to its property. The matter involves 3 plaintiffs seeking damages related to the repairs and 6 defendants. The 3 plaintiffs sought in excess of $255,000 in damages. Following mediation, risk management and the city attorney recommend settling all claims related to the incident for $60,000 from the city. The settlement also includes payments from the other defendants. Be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Do we have public testimony on this item?
No one signed up.
No further discussion. Please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Maps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Brian.
One moment, I just walked in. What item are we on?
681.
Okay, thank you.
It's a settlement, BEC.
It's what?
Water, this is kind of in my shop, although the mayor's sponsoring it. P-Bot and BES
Oh,
are
yeah.
settling with
Aye.
private.
Sorry.
Wheeler.
Yeah, this can only go one way. I vote aye, and the settlement's approved. Thanks to everybody who worked on this, and including the plaintiffs. Thank you for that. Next item, 682, please.
Authorize Director of Human Resources to enter into letter of agreement with Portland Police Association to provide enhanced overtime payments for police officers and sergeants to volunteer for overtime precinct patrol shifts for a limited period of time.
Colleagues, this ordinance seeks to approve a letter of agreement with the Portland Police Association for a pilot to add capacity for patrol shifts across the city. Here to present the item is Deputy Chief Mike Fromm from the Portland Police Bureau. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your patience also, Mike.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor and members of council. I will try to be brief. I think the mayor framed this. This is just a letter of agreement between the City of Portland and the Portland Police Association that would modify our collective bargaining agreement that would allow officers and sergeants who are working what we refer to as backfill, meaning it's a space empty because someone is called in sick, they're on vacation, we just don't have a person to work a patrol shift in one of our 3 precincts. It would allow them to be paid at twice their normal pay instead of 1.5, which is our negotiated overtime rate for them. We will find $1 million within the Police Bureau's budget to fund this. I view it as a pilot to see what is the appetite of our members to come in and work overtime if there is this enhanced payment. This was brought to us by the PPA. I know that they support it, largely because I think the one person who gets more complaints about staffing than me or the chief is probably the president of the PPA, because he gets calls from his members every day when they come in and say, we are X number of people short. And to provide a little illustration, I took a look at our rosters for last Saturday, August 12th. East Precinct, afternoon shift, has a minimum staffing number of 19. We had 12 people not working. We had 7 people for the entire shift for East Precinct, all right? They were working a stolen vehicle mission at the same time, so it's not like there weren't cops out there running around, but clearly patrol overtime is not incentivized at a place. So I would ask for your support in letting us see if this makes a difference. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Colleagues, any questions? Is there public testimony on this item?
We have 2 individuals signed up. First is Mark Porras.
Yes, good morning again, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Mark Porras, use he, him pronouns, and I'm with the group Portland Cop Watch. First, we want to acknowledge Mayor Wheeler's response to our testimony a few weeks ago when council approved a double pay overtime pilot project for BOEC workers. We heard the message loud and clear that there would be more efforts to offer double pay overtime to city employees, so we're not surprised to be here again. And we're not surprised that this letter of agreement is with the same organization as the previous one, the Portland Police Association. And we've heard all of you at one time or another talk about being good stewards of the city's money. And we understand this is just an approval of a temporary contract change and that the money is coming from PPB's current budget set aside. The ordinance states that this letter of agreement shall not set a precedent beyond the terms set forth herein. However, that precedent already appears to be set. So if after the 60-day pilot, PPB comes back to ask for more money to cover double overtime, the city should instead consider increasing funding for Portland Street Response. According to PSU's Year 2 evaluation of Portland Street Response, published in June, over 97% of the calls they handled were calls traditionally responded to by PPB. So instead of paying armed officers double time and expecting them to assist people experiencing mental health and behavioral health crises, the city could be investing in expanding Portland Street Response to 24/7, 365. PSR has proven that it lessens PPB's workload by handling calls that cops say they don't want to deal with anyway. We look forward to council hosting the PSU research team to present their Portland Street Response report. And we are also interested to know if council knows of any studies showing that offering police officers an additional 50% overtime bonus on top of the time and a half that they already receive provides any additional community safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Mapps.
I think we have Dan Handelman, or I think we have one more person on public testimony. Is that correct?
Yes.
I can wait. I would.
Next is Dan Handelman.
Good morning, Commissioners and Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, Dan.
Oh, great. Thank you. This is Dan Handelman. I use he, him pronouns. I'm testifying as a member of Portland Cop Watch. Just for the record, I was elected to be one of the 3 co-chairs of the final phase of the Police Accountability Commission, which was not covered in today's report, but I am a member of that commission, but I'm not speaking in any shape or form on behalf of the commission right now. I just wanted to add to Mark's testimony about the money that the Portland Police Bureau has found behind their couch cushions to fulfill these overtime ideas that are being considered by you as part of their contract today. And note that, Portland Cop Watch has worked very hard over the years to make clear to people that we're not anti-police, that we're for police accountability. And that being for police accountability doesn't mean that we want people to have people invading their houses or their yards or harming each other in the streets or anything like that. We are for there being professional police that do the job that community is asking them to do. We're very concerned about police violence, and we're very concerned about police misconduct. But I just want to make sure that the council understands that our comments to you about, providing overtime, double time overtime for the police and any support that we have for a stronger oversight system are not saying that we don't think the members of this community should be safe. So I just want to echo Mark's comments again, that if you are asked for more money from a police bureau that keeps saying that we don't have enough people and we're strapped, that you divert that money to other other agencies that can take care of things that the police say they don't want to do anyway. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Commissioner Mapps.
Sure. I want to thank the Bureau for its testimony today, and I want to thank everyone who offered their perspective on this particular ordinance. I really just want to share a little bit of my experience in this space. I believe this, or let's put it this way, this pilot project looks an awful lot like a pilot project we set up over at BOIC. We did that pilot project over at BOIC because those folks, have to be there, have to answer literally a million calls a year. We have staffing issues. We also have training issues. We were hoping to actually be able to have better coverage over at BOIC by trying a pilot project. And in my experience and my observation, although now it's over in Commissioner Gonzalez's shop, is that it's really made a difference. And it's and this pilot project with the police is a little bit different from the pilot project from BOIC. However, I think there's reason to believe that this step will actually help provide better police coverage to the people of Portland. I'm told that our typical shifts are about 4 people short of folks. I was doing some analyses of some back of the envelope analyses of staffing levels now, and I think we're probably about 83 by my kind of rough algebra. We probably need about 83 more police officers in order to provide full staffing according to our needs. So until and the good news is I think we have about 95 folks in training, maybe 98 officers in training at this point. So we're moving towards a healthier equilibrium. But in the meantime, I think doing what we can do to help provide, to make sure that when you call 911 and need a cop, there's a cop there to serve you, is a wise thing to do. So I want to thank the mayor for bringing this forward. And that's just my experience in a space like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Maps. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Well, I guess I just would make two general observations. One is applying across public safety in my perception. You know, we're facing challenges in this workforce in this generation in their willingness to do overtime. And that's true in a number of our public safety bureaus. It is a challenge as financial stewards for the city and how we navigate that. And there are a lot of reasons. Some could be cultural, some could be COVID aftermath, but that is just a reality that we're facing. That's true across public safety bureaus in the city of Portland. There are some differences in the double overtime. It's just maybe worth noting the levers. With BOAC, we're very much trying to build up the training pipeline. So we make this investment now for coaches and for those supporting training. That's really building capacity inside of BOAC. I think this is pulling a slightly different lever in terms of staffing for Portland Police, really just trying to get up to minimum expectations for staffing at each precinct, essentially is the way I look at this. I still think it's venerable. But this is a challenge. We have a lot of work to do to continue to recruit professionals that are willing to work in our public safety bureaus. We are getting some traction in Portland Police, as the mayor alluded to. We are getting some traction in BOAC. But just wanted to put that kind of on the record as both the similarities and differences. Fire has some slightly different dimensions in the way it staffs. We're also exercising some double overtime in certain specific scenarios. And happy to answer any questions on that if folks ever are curious about the differences in the way the bureaus are approaching it. But with that, I will eventually vote to support this. So thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Ryan.
Yeah, this is just to keep the dialogue going on this point. I hear what you're saying. Of course, I remember that vote, and it was important. And it's good to hear that it's made a difference. Chief Fromm, when we talk about this, I think the concern I would have would be when it sunsets, will there be less incentive for someone to want to do overtime? I know that there's a lot of factors. One, I attended many ceremonies welcoming new officers to the ranks, and it seems to have really great momentum. So I know that the future looks good in terms of the numbers going up. But what's been the dialogue when you think about when the sun sets with someone? No one really likes it when they get used to a certain pay level and then it goes down again. So that's my only common sense question. And I don't think we have that analysis yet because it's still active, right?
Can I jump in here? Here's one of my hopes, although I don't know. As you know, I used to be over at BOAC. One of the things that is true is that crime and our 911 calls are kind of seasonal. We're in the summer now, so this is just a rough period for fire, rough period for ambulance, rough period for crime. I'm really glad to see this kind of, this pilot project come in for a few months right here where we are just right in the heart of, frankly, the most difficult time of year. I can't speak to the incentives that individual costs.
My concern isn't about the need at all.
Yeah,
it's about behavior of what we get
Sure.
accustomed to in our cultures.
Sure.
We already know how many people are willing to come in and work now at a time and a half. And so what I think we're hoping out of this 60 days is to get a feeling of what is the actual increase that we see. If on a typical shift, and you're absolutely right, like the day that in question that I looked across the bureau, we had 35 slots between the 3 precincts and 9 total shifts. So that's just under 4 on average per, all right? So to get there, most of them are already hiring a few people on overtime. So if I can get the average of 4 vacancies down to like an average of 2, it tells me that I've got like a handful of people that are willing to come in. That's how I think we're going to gauge this. If in the long run, at 60 days, what we see is that the people that were already earning overtime are very happy because they're, they got paid extra, but we really didn't get that many new people to come in. I would say that from a management perspective, it's probably not that effective. I mean, I think people will take away that they had a good couple of months where they made a little extra money. But then when the PPA comes to us later to try to negotiate it into future contracts, I think we've got some ground to say it really wasn't that effective and all it did was just increase our costs.
So the dialogue is that this is a bridge that we're crossing at this moment.
Yeah.
It's to get
And
through
we'll
this
see.
tough period.
And I mean, it's been said here, the real way to fix this is to get enough people in place to be handling the calls, be it police officers, be it other response models, whatever we need to get to in order to make it so that the call load is manageable across public safety. That would be the big, long-term, better goal. Because you talk about the hiring ceremonies, almost every one of those people at those hiring ceremonies, I have given them a speech beforehand talking about don't become a cop all your life and remember your life outside of this place and take care of yourself. And then as soon as they're trained, I say, now go work overtime. So there's this disparity there that I would not like to have.
Understood. So I just want to make sure our eyes are wide open and we're having that dialogue.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay. Something Chief Fromm alluded to, I just want to emphasize the need to get our staffing models in public safety substantially dependent on straight line staffing is essential. And we're facing real material financial cost in overtime in Portland Fire, potentially in Portland Police, and in BOAC. And where there's no simple solution right now on that in the short term. We have, by any count, a substantial increase in the demand for public safety compared to pre-pandemic levels, anywhere, roughly saying 35%, in terms of what flows through BOAC. And we're basically at the same staffing levels in fire that we were in 2019. Police's staffing has fluctuated, is now on the rebound, but after taking some hits, same as in BOAC. And the challenge for us as we navigate these waters is there's nothing in the short term, really, or medium term that we can forecast decrease in demand for public safety. We've got to fill the gap some way, and I would encourage us as we can in the fall bump and continuously just evaluate how we can invest in straight line staffing across the board in public safety to lessen the dependency on overtime as we navigate these waters. It's going to be a tough budget cycle, I know, and just want to put that out there that we're going to continue to be having to deal with this incrementally and quite expensively if we're going to continue to be dependent on overtime to address these staffing issues. I'll leave it at that.
Sure. And if I may, let me just jump in here and underscore some points that the commissioner just made. I just happened to be looking at some of the dashboards that we have for public safety this week, and I think BOAC is doing great in terms of bringing down the amount of time it takes them to pick up the phone. However, I was disappointed to see that our call volume is going back up, which is frankly a trend I did not expect, and I'm disappointed to see that is a reality that we are frankly going to have to budget for. Thank you.
All right, very good. Any further questions, comments? This is an emergency ordinance. Please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
I vote aye.
Maps.
I want to thank the Police Bureau and the mayor for bringing this item forward. I think this is an important experiment that will has the potential to help keep Portlanders safer. I vote aye.
Rubio.
I want to thank Chief Fromm and also our testifiers, and I appreciate the chief's comments about changing work-life culture. My staff and I had many questions about this, and after getting all my questions answered, I'm supporting this because one, it's a temporary period of time and comes from within the budget. And two, the need to ensure coverage, as we've all just heard from the conversation, particularly during a time when our emergency call volume is still quite high and we're waiting for DPSST to further certify our new hires so that they can begin working. And also, just since it came up in testimony and Portland Street Response was mentioned, I want to underscore my support for finding a permanent sustainable solution for this essential program as well. And I know from a number of my one-on-one conversations with some of my colleagues, I know that that's the interest too. We need all of this, all of the above. So that being said, I look forward to working with the mayor, with the police bureau, with PPA and all stakeholders to ensure that we find a sustainable solution for all these issues long-term. I vote aye.
Ryan.
Thank you, Chief Fromm, for being here. And I did appreciate the testimony. You know, this gives you a chance to look at the contrast between our city's numbers and other cities. So when you look at Louisville, 621,000 people, 1,241 sworn officers. Detroit, 621,000 as well, 2,500 sworn officers. Boston, 617,000 people, 2,144 officers. Portland, 619,000 and 802 sworn officers. So the case is really clear that we're behind. And I really see a lot of hope every time I attend a swearing-in ceremony. I not only see the numbers going up, but I see the type of person that's excited to serve our city. And it's been very heartwarming. And I know there's another one next week that I look forward to attending. My point is, we have bigger systemic issues that the mayor's been working on with the governor to expedite the process, the logjam at the state, which every police force around the state has probably been upset about for some time. And all these issues are really hitting us hard right now. So my questions were not about the need. I'm going to vote yes on this. It was about how to manage culture's expectations going forward. And so I think we have to stay attuned to that. And that's why I wanted that in the public record. And I want to always thank you for your candor. And this is the right thing to do at the right time. It's an important bridge. It's temporary. And I vote aye.
Wheeler.
I want to extend my personal thanks to Chief Fromm, as well as President Aaron Schmautz of the Portland Police Association. This kind of collaboration and problem-solving skill set that both of you bring to the table has been indispensable during a really challenging time. And I want to acknowledge that. Having been in this chair for a number of years, it was not always this way, that we had such a positive, collaborative relationship with the PPA and a really strong desire to work together and solve complicated problems. And this is yet another example of the great work the two of you have done together. I understand there's other people who've been working on it, but the personalities click, the desire to serve the community and help our police bureau be as effective as possible and to respect those who serve in the positions in our police bureau has truly been underscored by your leadership. So thank you for that. I also just want to say we've made solid progress, of course, in restaffing and advocating for the expansion of the State Academy over the past year, but we have to be clear-eyed and acknowledge that it's going to take time for people to see the results on the streets. And I applaud the work that PPB has done to find creative as well as data-driven ways to meet the needs of community safety, such as with our recent stolen vehicle and retail theft missions, which were highly successful. Still, we have to ensure that the day-to-day core police functions are supported as well. PPB works diligently to meet core patrol staffing minimums across the city each and every day, and overtime is the best tool we have right now to reach those important levels in the near term. This LOA is intended to provide a limited term incentive of double time overtime for sergeants and officers who volunteer for patrol shift overtime. As we indicated, this pilot would permit up to $1 million in double time overtime within the next 60 days. We have seen the success of similar efforts, most recently at the Bureau of Emergency Communications. Council recently approved an extension of the pilot program that permitted double time overtime for call takers to train new call takers. This program has demonstrated improvements in volunteerism, which helps to bolster BOEC's capacity to address its staffing challenges. I also just want to commit that my team will continue to work closely with the Chief's office to monitor staffing data, as well as to determine whether this strategy is having the desired effect of improving our patrol capacity, just as Mike had indicated. Given the short-term nature of this program and the tremendous needs from our community, I am very happy to vote aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Thanks for your great work. Next Three items are second readings. Item 683, please.
Amend contract with OTOC Inc. for professional engineering services for the Springwater Wetlands Enhancement Project E07383, not to exceed $205,928.
This is a second reading. We've already had a presentation and had opportunity for public participation. Does anybody have any further business on this item? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
I vote aye.
Maps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Bryan.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. Item 684, also a second reading.
Authorize a competitive solicitation and contract with the lowest responsive and responsible bidder and provide payment for construction of the Springwater Wetlands Restoration Project E07383 for an estimated cost of $6,028,000.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Maps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Bryan.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. 685, also a second reading.
Authorize bid solicitation and contracting with the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for construction of the South McAdam Avenue to South Bancroft Street Water Mains Project at an estimated cost of $1 million.
Any further business? Please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Maps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Bryan.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. 686, this is an emergency ordinance.
Adopt and authorize submission of the FY 2023 to 24 action plan application for community development block grant, home investment partnerships, emergency solutions grant, and housing opportunities for persons with AIDS programs to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
I'll turn this over to Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you, Mayor. Colleagues, we are here today to present the city's annual action plan for $15 million in federal funds. This action plan is essentially an implementation guide for our annual grant award from HUD. Based on our 5-year consolidated plan, a strategic plan for these critical funds, which was most recently approved in fall of 2021. This plan is a required part of receiving federal entitlement funding for the 4 affordable housing and community development programs, CDBG, HOME, POPWA, and ESG. The CON plan, as it's sometimes known, represents the Portland Consortium that includes the City of Portland as the lead agency and partners the City of Gresham and Multnomah County. Consortium members submit individual action plans, and today before the council is the City of Portland's own action plan. This year's action plan provides details on total funding available for the current fiscal year and how it will be allocated to projects. Those allocations are based on goals that were identified in the CON plan, based on the community needs assessment and local priorities. By submitting this plan to HUD, the Portland Consortium is certifying that the funded projects and actions will affirmatively further fair housing and will serve low-income consortium residents who experience disproportionate housing and non-housing needs. So now I'll pass it to Molly Rogers, Interim Director of Portland Housing Bureau, to provide more information.
Thank you, Commissioner. Keelan, do you pull up the slides? Great. Good morning, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners. My name is Molly Rogers. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm the Interim Director of the Housing Bureau. I'm joined today with Dr. Uma Krishnan, PHB's lead on HUD's consolidated and action plans. Next slide. So HUD, which is the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, awards grants to entitlement jurisdictions, such as Portland's Consortium, to carry out a wide range of housing and community and economic development activities. Areas receiving funds develop their own programs and funding priorities that is driven by community needs, public input, and consultation with a wide range of stakeholder groups. So the blueprint as to why and how the HUD program's funds will be utilized in this detailed consolidated plan. This brief presentation is intended to walk you through the plan, who the consortium partners are, and what HUD programs does to help the Portland Consortium receive. Next slide. So this details the purpose and framework of producing a consolidated plan. CON plan is not to be confused with comp plan. That is often when we do these sort of long-range plans, these things for HUD is done every 3 to 5 years, and it consolidates 4 different formula block grant programs that the commissioner already laid out. All right, take it away, Uma.
Thank you, Director Rogers, and good morning, Mayor Wheeler, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Dr. Uma Krishnan. I am staff with the Housing Bureau and also the lead for the Consolidated Plan Action Plan. Next slide, please. So the consolidated plan, the one big easy difference if we had the hard copy is consolidated plan is like 300 some pages. Action plan is only 70. So that's easy way to distinguish them. But then the annual action plan has a purpose. It's our implementation guide. And with one consolidated plan, we have 5 associated action plan. We are on round 3. This is the action plan for the fiscal year 23-24, and it essentially details how allocated resources will be spent on various projects. And these projects are high-level groupings, and within the projects we have activity. Ahead upon review and approval of the action plan, they release the grant agreement. Next slide, please. So we are part of a consortium when it comes to the consolidated plan. And our consortium partners are, we are the lead, and we partner with City of Gresham and Multnomah County, who represent the unincorporated portions of the smaller cities, like Maywood Park, Troutdale, Fairview, Wood Village, etc. And I want to note here that because Gresham and Multnomah County receive their own CDBG entitlements, they also submit their action plan. They prepare the plan, and as the lead, we submit it. So it's of paramount importance that this plan be adopted and authorized. Next slide, please. So what are the funds that we receive? These are the 4 federal programs. It's the CDBG Community Development Block Grant, the Home Investment Partnership, ESG's Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and HOPWA's Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS program. And we are what's called an entitlement jurisdiction, that they allocate these funds, but the entitlement ends there. We do have to prepare a plan and submit it, and it be approved for us to be able to get that line of credit. CDBG is the oldest of these programs, dating back to '74. The Home and HOPWA came about in 1990, and the ESG goes back to 2009. Next slide, please. So in the consolidated plan, we have priority needs and associated goals. And
or Andrew McCaslin.
So I will just go back to the needs and goals. And you must have heard these needs multiple times. So we have 3 needs that have been identified in the CON plan: affordable housing choice. The second one is basic services and homeless prevention and intervention. The third is community and economic development. And we have these associated goals to increase and preserve affordable housing choice in ways that promote racial equity. The second one is reduce and prevent homelessness in ways that can mitigate overrepresentation of the BIPOC communities. And the third one is improve livability through infrastructure, employment, and anti-poverty strategies. Next slide, and I think it's over to Director Rogers. Thank you.
So HUD has a determination of funding allocations for the various programs, really based, it's formula-driven. It uses measures like the extent of poverty, population, nature of our housing stock, et cetera. So because of this, the allocations can vary. The award announcements are made in early spring each year and are available on the HUD website. So subsequently, then our local HUD office then notifies PHB. Just a couple things to note for you. We work in partnership with other jurisdictions to implement and spend a portion of these resources. PHB directs 25% of CDBG to Prosper Portland for economic development opportunities. And we transfer the ESG and HOPWA allocations to the Joint Office of Homeless Services as it is better aligned with ending homelessness type of activities. Next slide. This just gives you an overview of the various budget allocations that we have embedded into our FY 23-24 budget. These projects are part of these groupings and what we call activities under various projects. Just as note, the largest activities or programs really are new rental housing, that's all affordable housing, economic opportunities, again, mentioning it's administered by Prosper, and homeownership programs and home repair. And with that, Dr. Krishnan and I would be happy to take your questions.
Very good. Colleagues, any questions? Commissioner Gonzalez, go ahead.
Can you clarify, is it ESG funds that we send to the Joint Office on Homelessness?
That's correct.
Okay, and what was how large was that in terms of dollar amount?
That's just under $728,121. It's 728,121.
And is that specified specifically for shelter? Is that essentially?
That is right.
Got
That's
it,
right.
got it. That's all, those are all my questions, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Ryan?
Hi, good to see you. I have a question I didn't hear, and maybe I missed it, about HIV-specific targeted housing for those with HIV. And I thought I saw that in the title. Did I miss that slide?
It's in the program. It's the HOPWA, the Housing Opportunity for Persons with AIDS.
Okay,
So
that's what I assumed.
It's listed there, and it's about 2.1 million or something.
Okay, so there is it's targeted towards that demographic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
that's important.
Yes,
Yeah.
of
And I
course.
just wanted to make sure I heard that from you, because I didn't see the slide that called that out, so, all right.
Very good. Do we have public testimony on this, Christina?
No one signed up.
All right, very good. This is an emergency ordinance. Please call the roll.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Maps.
I want to thank Commissioner Rubio for bringing this item forward, and I want to thank staff for their work on this important project and for today's presentation. I vote aye.
Rubio.
I want to thank Molly and Dr. Christian and the team for working on this. Look forward to seeing the impact that these funds will make. I vote aye.
Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Director Rogers. Good to see you. Good doctor. I'm definitely very supportive of this, and I think it is really important to really call out the specifics of that demographic. It's personal. I've 40 years I've lived with HIV starting in December, and a lot of people in my category, we didn't save for retirement. And so there's going to be, I think, a big need that's coming soon for people with long-term HIV that need affordable housing in their senior years. So I'll be tracking this for special interest, if you will, and I appreciate that this came to the dais today. I vote aye.
Wheeler.
That's an important perspective. Thanks for sharing that. I vote aye. The ordinance is adopted. Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rubio. Next item, 687.
Approve findings to authorize exemption to competitive bidding requirements and approve use of alternative contracting method of construction manager, general contractor, and authorize payment for construction of the North Portland Aquatic Center project.
Commissioner Ryan.
Thank you, Keelan. I'd like to introduce Robin Johnson. Why is this going away? Robin Johnson Craig, who's here to make a presentation for Parks. Good to see you, Robin. I know we're here to keep moving this forward as quickly as we can. The floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you. I was about to say good afternoon, but good morning. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for the opportunity to present today, this morning. My name is Robin Johnson Craig. She, her, hers. I'm a PP&R Capital Project Manager for the new North Portland Aquatic Center, which is very exciting. With me here today is Kathleen Bernis-Marua, who is Design and Construction Procurement Manager, who is here to answer questions, if there are any questions about procurement-related items. Next slide, please. Portland Parks and Recreation is very excited to present the new phase of the North Portland Aquatic Center project. This is an incredible opportunity to provide full aquatic programming for North Portland that has been long overdue. We are asking City Council today to approve findings to authorize an exemption to the competitive bidding requirements, authorize the use of the alternative contracting method of construction manager general contractor, CMGC, in connection with the North Portland Aquatic Center project, and authorize payment for construction of the North Portland Aquatic Center. Next slide, please. We are currently working in Phase 2, site selection, programming, and schematic design. The selection of the Northgate Park site for the new North Portland Aquatic Center has just been completed. We're anticipating moving into Phase 3 in early 2024, and we need approval for this upcoming CMG exemption. in order to efficiently move forward into our next phase of work, projected for early 2024. The final phase will be Phase 4 for construction, targeting a 2029 opening date. Next slide, please. What is the CMGC? CMGC augments the traditional scope of work of the general contractor with that of a construction manager under a single contract with the owner. At an early point in the design phase, the city, using a competitive selection process, selects the contractor to provide construction management and general contracting services. By joining the project team during the design process, the CMGC firm can collaborate with the architect and engineer on the development of the design and preparation of the design documents, material pricing, sequencing, and materials and methods. Sorry, get back up. The CMGC contracting method can benefit a construction project in a variety of ways. The competitive process of selecting CMGC firm typically involves the consideration of more information than simply price. The new Aquatic Center is a specialized and complex type of facility that requires a specialized contractor team to support parks in this effort. The City and Parks will craft our equity-based selection criteria tailored to the city's aspirational goals and also meeting the specific and unique requirements of the RWA, the Regional Workforce Equity Agreement. Next slide, please. Procurement Services and PP&R recommend using the alternative contracting method of CMGC for the project, which will allow PP&R to select a contractor with the specialized experience and qualifications necessary to coordinate and develop an aquatic center, with demonstrated expertise participating in a collaborative CMGC design process, as well as allowing the contractor to provide input during the design process, including the construction packaging and sequencing, to ensure equity in service delivery and to avoid future high maintenance costs, minimize impacts on the neighborhood, and to provide input on the development and the construction of the aquatic facility that will reflect community pride, is safe and clean, accessible for all ages, cultures, and abilities, and provide continuous value engineering to ensure cost containment and best value accrued to the community. Next slide, please. So we respectfully request from City Council to approve findings to authorize an exemption for the competitive bidding requirements, authorize the use of the alternative contracting method of CMGC in connection with the North Portland Aquatic Center project, and authorize payment for construction of the North Portland Aquatic Center. Next slide, please. And thank you, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Commissioner Mapps.
Just so we're clear, you're requesting this exemption just because the engineering behind building a pool of this scale is complex? Is that what's going on here?
Well, we also have for any projects and procurement, Kathleen, please tell me, please weigh in.
Sure. Kathleen Brenis-Marua, Design and Construction Procurement Manager with Procurement Services. The CMGC method is an alternative to the traditional low bid procurement method, generally used for more complex projects where we can really benefit from having the contractor come in and provide input into finalizing the design. In this case, the North Aquatic Center. It also allows for enhanced community input throughout the process and generally results in better finished product because there's more collaboration with the contractor, with the design team, with the community in building the project.
Maybe a quick follow, although maybe can we state it more succinctly? Like, why are we doing CMGC here?
With this, here today, right, so Oregon statute requires the construction projects to be bid at the lowest cost, right? And so in order to proceed with a CMGC procurement method, which uses a request for proposals process where we can consider other factors in addition to cost, we need to get the approval from our local contracting board, which is our city council, in order to proceed with a different procurement method.
Okay, one last follow-up question. I think this is my first pool since I've been on council. What does the universe of contractors look like for pool pool construction. Do we know even, or is this an out-of-state thing, or do we have the talent locally to build this? Do we know?
There are several I guess they're described tier one contractors that, of course, do aquatic centers. There is currently an aquatic center under construction in Lake Oswego. There are aquatic centers, for example, and I believe it's in Medford. There is a full-scale, very large community center, aquatic center. So there are contractors within the state with the expertise. There are also plenty of hotels. We don't think about hotels and aquatic centers, but there are lots of pools being built in Portland with indoor pool facilities. So there is familiarity with that type of construction.
Okay, thank you. I have no more questions.
Very good. Colleagues, any other questions? Do we have public testimony on this item?
No one signed up.
All right, very good. This is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It moves to second reading. Thank you for your presentation. And last but not least, 688, please.
Authorized contract with Play Studio LLC for North Park Blocks Extension Project not to exceed $1,367,074.
Commissioner Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Keelan. Actually, you're not Keelan. I keep calling you Keelan. Sorry, I'm used to it. I'd like to introduce Gary Dacta from Parks. Gary is here today to share this presentation about this project. Welcome, Gary. Glad you're here. Gary's getting the slide up, right? There you are.
Hello, Mayor. Excuse me. Hello, Mayor Wheeler and members of the City Council. My name is Gary Datka. I'm a capital project manager with Portland Parks and Recreation. I'm here today with Rick Nossman from Procurement Services, who is on the Zoom, to request council authorization for Place Studio in the amount of $1,367,074 to provide planning, design, and construction administration services for the North Park Blocks Extension Project. Play Studio is a co-bid certified minority and disadvantaged business enterprise based in Portland. In my presentation today, I will share an overview of the project, community engagement goals, scheduling and funding allocations before requesting City Council authorization. This project is located in the Pearl District, adjacent to Old Town. It is part of the future Broadway Corridor project, which is shown in orange on this image. The project work will be delivered to two currently developed sites within the Broadway Corridor. Site 1, shown in green on this map, is also referred to as the PNCA block, an approximately 30,000 square foot parcel stretching from Northwest Gleason north to Northwest Hoyt between Northwest Park Avenue and the extension of Northwest 8th Avenue. Site 2, shown in yellow, is the Broadway Corridor project. It is referred to as the USPS blocks. This 2-acre site spanning two uninterrupted blocks from Northwest Hoyt north to Northwest Johnson between Northwest Park Avenue and the extension of Northwest 8th Avenue. Both sites will build on the foundations set for future improvements in the 2019 Broadway Corridor Master Plan and will draw upon the existing North Park Blocks design context. The existing North Park blocks are part of the original 1869 platted city park properties stretching from Northwest Ankeny north to Northwest Gleason. This linear green space mimics the South Park blocks design language, utilizing a strong symmetry with American elms planted in rows along the street edge. The northern block at Northwest Gleason is an active block with two popular half-court basketball courts and two less frequently used bocce courts. The existing conditions of 3 currently developed blocks north of Northwest Gleason to Northwest Johnson include Site 1 is currently a paved lot that PP&R leases to Willamette University, Pacific Northwest College of Art, for parking and display space. It is also the location of the PNCA collection Lee Kelly sculpture. Site 2 are the parcels encompassing the former USPS downtown distribution center currently being demolished. In 2022, the city committed to an intergovernmental agreement between Prosper Portland, Portland Parks and Recreation, and the Portland Bureau of Transportation for Site 2 Broadway Corridor and Green Loop design, including the design and construction of Site 1 North Park Blocks extension. Starting this project is the beginning of fulfilling the agreements made. For the delivery of this project, Site 1 will be designed, permitted, bid, and constructed. We will complete it. When complete, it will serve as a transition between the North Park Blocks and the future Broadway corridor and Green Loop development. Site 2, in accordance with the 2019 Broadway Corridor Master Plan and 2022 IGA, the project will develop to a 30% completeness design and engineering package for the park parcel and Green Loop corridor. This project will engage the community in transparent and equitable consultant-led community engagement with oversight from PP&R's community engagement team. A project advisory committee will be assembled using best practices provided by PP&R and will include people from Prosper Portland's Broadway Corridor team, Willamette University PNCA, PP&R staff, and members of the public, and will include Pearl District and Old Town community partners. This PAC will participate in a minimum of 5 meetings to help guide the design process. The project will also host a minimum of 3 community meetings to collect input on the design and how these public spaces can support the community. Community outreach will be flexible and conducted in a thoughtful and creative manner to ensure all interested are able to participate in a meaningful way through the design process. We are only just beginning this work and hope to get started early this fall. Design work and community engagement are expected to continue through spring of 2025, followed by permitting and bidding. And at this time, I anticipate construction of Site 1 starting in early 2026. Project funding for both sites was allocated in 2020 from Park System Development charges for downtown. Site 1 has a total project allocation for planning, land use, permits, design, and construction of $8 million. Site 2 has $11.4 million assigned through Prosper Portland's ordinance number 19046 for the Broadway corridor and is available for future design and development. A qualifications-based solicitation for request for proposals for landscape architectural professional technical expert services was released through the city's online procurement system on November 17th, 2022. Procurement services managed the procurement process. Potential proposers were able to review the solicitation, attend a non-mandatory online pre-proposal meeting, ask questions, provide comments, and submit a proposal in response to the QBS RFP. 3 responsive proposals were received. The proposed team, led by Place Studio, was selected by an evaluation committee through a standardized proposal scoring process. A notice of intent to award was posted, and no protests were received. A not-to-exceed contract amount of $1,376,074 was then negotiated. PTE contracting with Place Studio meets the city's aspirational goals for COVID, disadvantaged minority, women, emerging small business, and service-disabled veteran business enterprises. At 23% of the $1,367,074 fees will be awarded to state-certified COVID subcontractors. A disaggregation of this data for contracting shows that 12% of the total design fees will be awarded to women-owned disadvantaged business enterprise subconsultants, 9% to women-owned emerging small business enterprise subconsultant, and 2% to women-owned business enterprise. Additionally, 57% of prime consulting dollars will be awarded to state-certified minority-owned disadvantaged business enterprise prime consultant. So today, with procurement services, we request council's authorization to accept the proposal for the amount of $1,367,074 from Place Studio for professional technical expert design services for the North Park Blocks Extension Project. With the acceptance of this proposal by council, design is set to begin immediately following contracting. I am happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Very good. Colleagues, any questions at this point? Commissioner Mapps?
No. Did I raise my hand? No, although I will say if there's an advantage to making this an emergency ordinance, I would be open to.
I checked in with them and they said it's not necessary, right?
Yeah, I don't believe we brought this as an emergency.
All right,
ordinance.
that's fine.
They just, I was checking in on that.
Is there a public testimony on this
Think
item?
No one signed up.
All right, this is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It moves to second reading. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Gary.
And thank you, Christina, for being our clerk today. We are adjourned.
Cool.